Okay, let's talk about this March break, really now just a couple of days away, and the looming Toronto Inside City worker strike is really threatening to shut down all March break camps and city-run daycares across Toronto. That is no laughing matter. So you could be looking for some strategies to survive the entire week being at home with the family.
So here this morning with tips for breaking patterns of parenting is registered social worker Janene Jayanthakumar. Welcome to the show. Good to have you once again. Janene, I know you're a busy mom with twins and another child at home. It can be hectic, and when it comes to March break, this is a time when it's like a combustion, a pressure cooker. Things can explode. But let's start with parenting and how family dynamics, your own personal history with how you were parented can affect your parenting style.
Yeah, absolutely. So how we were raised makes such a difference in how we show up. And one of my most favorite theories is attachment theory. Have you heard?
I have.
It is like fabulous. And it's so fabulous because it really gets parents to understand their own attachment style in terms of how they were parented. And what we know about attachment theory is that, we have secure attachment, which is one of the 4 types of attachment styles. And your secure attachment style is about 58% of the adult population who actually are secure. So that tells us there's a large portion of us who are not secure.
Yeah.
However, there is hope, there's good news. We have the other 3 attachment styles, which are classified as insecure attachment. And the first ones are anxious attachment style. And that's for children who maybe had parents who were available and present some of the time, able to meet some of our needs, but not consistently. So a child ends up learning, I can't rely consistently on my parents, and that's why we get this anxious attachment style into adulthood.
Right.
And then we have what we call avoidant attachment style, which is where maybe we were brought up with caregivers who actually could not meet our emotional needs. So these individuals grow up to be kind of really your independent, I'm going to do everything on my own, I don't need any help. And that's a coping mechanism. And that's where we begin to struggle as well in how we parent. If our needs weren't met, that impacts how we parent too.
Yeah.
And the last one is disorganized. And that's more for individuals, children who grew up in households where maybe there were mental health conditions in the family, addictions, incarcerations. And that's where we tend to see more of the adolescents and adults who grow up struggling with their own mental health. The great thing, though, is that we can move to what we call earned security. So even though we may have been brought up in a household where we have these insecure attachment styles, we can move to earned security in adulthood. And that's one of the most favorite things for me to tell people, because it gives us hope that when we look in and begin meeting our own needs as adults, we can move to be secure.
I'm running through my head of like my own family, my friends' families are growing up. You sort of start to see all the different examples of what you just described there. But how do we get to earned security then? Because I think that's the key here.
Yeah, so it's a lot of reflection and internal work on the parent. And it's hard. It's really, really hard to do that. But if we can begin to pick up on these patterns, just like it's really easy to notice patterns in other people.
Sure thing.
It's so hard to notice our own patterns. But, how do we show up in conflict? Whether it be with our children, whether it be in the workplace, whether it be with our spouses or partners, are we able to communicate in healthy ways? Or are we avoiding it? Like that kind of stuff is telling. Are we more reactive than responsive? These things tell us, okay, let's look inwards and see what could possibly be going on. And that's where it's some of the really hard work, because we got to get to possibly exploring things that maybe we dug under.
The discomfort.
So Janene, what are some quick tips you have for families this March break in terms of, recognizing their parenting patterns and kind of like stopping it in the bud in the moment?
Yeah. So I would say for parents, if there's conflict or something going on, let's pause. Let's take a moment to even begin thinking, can I do something a little bit differently in how I respond? All of us parents yell at some point, but can we, right?
Sure do.
Yeah, we do.
But what if we said, can we just pause for a moment? I'm gonna try to do something differently. I'm not gonna yell. I'm gonna go get a drink of water. Right? It's as simple as breaking up that pattern because we're so reactive. The other thing that I want to leave parents with is we're going to screw it up at some point. We're going to do the wrong thing. We're going to say the wrong thing. But can we go back to our children and have a conversation about that? And that's hard, right? We got to let our egos down to have these conversations with our kids. I'm sorry, I was so tired yesterday. I had a long day at work, and I didn't show up the way I wanted to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great tips indeed. Yeah.
For sure. Just being honest with yourself and being honest with your child, too.
Exactly. And then self-care, as I always leave the show with, you know, we parents have to take care of themselves first. We got to fill our own cup.
Yeah,
So
it's
true.
not selfish. It's helping others in the long
Exactly.
run. All right. Janae, thanks so much for joining us
Thank
again.
you.
Thank you for these
Have a
tips.
great
Really
March
appreciate this.
break.
Yeah.
Thank you.